Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I get the distinct pleasure and opportunity to hang out with my homegrown partner in crime, Miss Yvette Carnell from BreakingBrown.com. How you doing today, Yvette?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really well. I'm still on the road, so it's always kind of tough to do stuff when I'm on the road because the Wi-Fi ain't right and the it's too dark. You know what I mean? All these
Yeah.
little things you have perfect at home, they kind of change when you're on the road, but it's all good. I had a good Thanksgiving. So what are you doing today? Like what are you called me? You always complaining about something. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you people would learn how to just like be quiet and accept your condition, then we wouldn't have these problems. We wouldn't have all this unrest. We could have a happy holiday season if y'all went out here trying to like start boycotts and riots and fires and all this other
Mischief. Just all around mischief.
mischief. Yes. So what were you complaining about today? What's on your mind?
I know what bee did I get in my bonnet today? Okay, so Michael Eric Dyson wrote this piece. The name of the piece was about Hillary Clinton. It was yes she can, and it basically tries to make the case that what Barack Obama didn't achieve on race. He said, "Oh, Barack Obama will be remembered, will be remembered as a president, one of the most memorable presidents or whatever, but he won't be remembered on the issue of race." And so he tries to make the case. Dyson tries to make this case that what Obama didn't get done in terms of race, like he says, "Oh, we didn't get any policy, any policy from Obama." Policy
Uh oh. It it looked like it looked like you froze up just a little bit.
and I read it and I thought, okay,
It looked like you froze up
back
for a
now or
little.
no?
Repeat that last sentence so that, and then if the connection gets too bad, we'll shoot again. But go ahead. Say that last
Okay,
sentence again.
no problem. It seemed to me like Dyson was trying to make the case that Hillary Clinton will do, what
Hmm.
Barack Obama and what her husband Bill Clinton could not do. And I just thought the essay lacked a certain seriousness, right? Because what he didn't spend time on, he talked a lot about Hillary Clinton's interaction with Black Lives Matter activists, Hillary Clinton's husband, in terms of the rhetoric that he would use in terms of, you remember when Bill Clinton said, winning South Carolina, whatever, this isn't even a big deal, Jesse Jackson won this state or whatever. There was a lot of stuff to be said about the rhetorical, about what Hillary Clinton said, what Barack Obama said, what Hillary Clinton has said to Black Lives Matter activists, those sorts of conversations. There was not a lot about, Hillary has a track record, and there was not a lot about her track record as a senator from New York, or a track record as a Secretary of State. It was like this sort of rhetorical thing, and I think that's kind of what bothers me. I feel like it lacked a certain substance, and I feel like, honestly, there's nothing to say that Hillary Clinton. There's no indication, none, that Hillary Clinton will do more for Black people in terms of race than what Barack Obama did. And I don't think that Dyson made a good. I don't think he made a good case for that.
Mm. It's funny. I was talking to a young lady that asking me a question about men, namely her ex boyfriend, and she said, I knew him for many years, and I knew that he had a lot of women, and I knew that he let a lot of women down. But finally, after 10 years of knowing him, we started to date, and he promised me that he was ready for a change, and I figured that he was because he learned from his mistakes. He was more mature, and all these other things, and you could probably guess what happened. What do you think happened, Yvette? But you tell me.
Nothing changed.
He
Nothing
did
at
he
all.
did exactly what he had been doing for the last 15 years. Um, so what my moral of that story to her is I said, people, you don't want people to tell you what they're going to do or tell you who they are. They show you who they are. And so it makes perfect sense. If I think I can get away with it, if I can get away with it, if I can screw you 2 or 3 times in a row, and then each time come back and say, no, this time is different. I'm not going to do what happened last time. I learned from my mistakes. I'm really sorry. And you keep trusting me over and over again, then that makes you the fool. That makes you the idiot. And so, um, I hate to see that Mike is positioning himself this way. It's not surprising. I mean, he's a political insider. He was with Obama. He's going to be with Clinton. God bless him for that. I'm sure it's paying off very well for him. But we have to understand that what's best for Michael Eric Dyson may not always be what's best for the black community. And I'm not disrespecting him in that regard. I'm not saying that he's a bad person or inauthentic or anything like that. But there is always going to be in every election, and you know this better than I do. There's always going to be an effort to find black people who are willing to help them erase their sins, help the politician apologize for whatever they did. Some would call these people Negro apologists. I'm not going to use that term because I like Michael Eric Dyson as a person, but at the end of the day, it's up to us to decide if we're going to see it for what it is. I think we can cheer for Michael. Go get your money, man. Like go do your thing. Whatever it is you want to do, I'm not going to disrespect it. Again, I'm not saying I would do that, but I'm not going to disrespect it. But it's up to you to decide if you're going to accept it or not. Because again, when I talked to that woman that yeah a couple of days ago about the whole boyfriend example, I said at the end of the day, you're the one who chose to trust him. You're the one who chose to look at the wrong information. And so when you look at the Clintons and you look at the Obamas and you look at pretty much that whole Democratic machine, it's kind of the same repetitive. It's like Groundhog Day for black people. Remember the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray where he kept living the
Mm-hmm.
same day over and over and over again? That's the relationship between black people and the Democratic Party. We've got this abusive relationship where we've been consistently disrespected, neglected, mistreated, all these other things. And every time the abuse occurs, a few years later, after all the anger has simmered down, the abusive mate comes back and says, "Baby, baby, please, I'm so sorry. Give me another chance." And the reason you give them another chance is it links to your self esteem. You keep giving that abusive boyfriend or abusive girlfriend another chance because you don't believe you can do any better. They pretty much tell you, hey, I'm all you really got, right? And that's what the Democratic Party can say. That's the best thing they can say to black people is, we're all that you got. I mean, look at those Republicans. Look at the horrible things that they're saying over there. We're all you got. And I think that what has to happen in this generation is black people have to truly fundamentally believe that the Democrats are not the best that we've got. That's not all we got. We got a lot of options out here, and so I don't think the same song and dance should be allowed to persist.
I mean, I don't either. But let me tell you something else that's really, really bothersome about this whole essay. Let me tell you something that really kind of what really most irked me about the essay. I'm not downing Michael Eric Dyson as a person or as a scholar here. What I'm saying is that Michael Eric Dyson, in terms of Obama, has been wrong ever since. I remember the first speech he made about Obama doing the black I don't remember whether it was a town hall, a thing that Tavis Smiley used to have, I think. And he said that black Obama was Pharaoh, and that was right. He that's true. And then he moved all the way from that to become a surrogate of Obama. During the lead up to the 2012 election, you had him going around basically saying, you got to come out because this other option is going to be so bad. And we did that instead of like renegotiating a contract with Obama saying, hey, if you want us to come back out again for the second time, here's what we need. Instead of doing that, you had like Dyson and Sharpton coming out and saying, you can't do that. You can't falter at all. You got to stand with this guy because he's going to be so much better than what Romney would be. So that's the kind of conversation that we were having. So all along, when you look at Dyson's track record, because Hillary Clinton isn't the only one with a track record here, Dyson has a track record as well. He has been wrong about Obama. So now you're coming and you're saying to me, Michael Eric Dyson, that this president who you supported, it hasn't provided any policies for black people, which are worth anything. He says that in his essay. He says Barack Obama gave black people no policy, whereas Bill Clinton gave us bad policy. You're acknowledging that while also acknowledging that you were supporting this guy the whole time. So my question is, if you were wrong then, why shouldn't I think that you're wrong now? Because your track record isn't good. It's not just about Hillary Clinton's track record here. Your track record isn't good. And that makes me call into question your decision making process, your judgment, because he also said something in the essay about there being an increased compassion for black people. And I'm not a person who just habitually downs religion, but that brought to mind that sort of religiosity that sort of black pacifist religiosity that believes that even the worst devil, Lucifer himself, can be redeemed, if we just believe enough. And that was problematic for me because, taking on America and taking on imperialism and everything that comes with it. I believe part of that is taking on capitalism. I believe that's central to it. But whatever you want to say about it, it has nothing to do with the compassion. Whether or not this white guy feels compassion in his heart for you. This is about demonstrating that, listen, America has debilitated, diminished black and brown lives around the world, and we're not going to take that anymore. And I think even towards the end of his life, and I mentioned this in a Facebook post, Martin Luther King, who did pass legislation with that sort of moralizing. He towards the end of Malcolm X's life, sort of had gotten with Malcolm X, and they were going to do some things at the UN in terms of bringing a resolution to really highlight how Black people have been mistreated in America. Right. So even he realized, even Dr. Martin Luther King seemed to realize the limits of that sort of redemptive, rhetoric, or I am a man and, we shouldn't be treated this way. He realized that there were limits to that. And you had to go beyond that. And he felt, it seems to me, that he had reached that boundary. And so I sort of squirmish when I hear Black people now talk about, politics in that sort of, very emotive sort of way, as opposed to like this being a real thing that you have to fight, sort of like how Black people feel about Hillary Clinton. Did Hillary Clinton hurt Black people's feelings in 2008? This is not about that, has nothing to do with the material conditions of Black people.
Um, you know, um, I will say that it's interesting that the logic for black voting is very very consistent. It's very simple, and I want people to really, if you don't know this already, I want you to really process this for a second. Basically, what the Democrats will do with you is they will say something like, you have to vote. Every black person must vote. Even though W.E.B. Du Bois wrote an article, I think, called "Why I Will Not Vote," because he felt the choices were bad. But they say if you don't vote, you're disrespecting your ancestors. People die for you to have the right to vote. If you don't vote, you don't count. They'll say things like that. So once they lock you into voting, then the logic proceeds to the second point, which is, well, you got to vote for either a Democrat or a Republican, or your vote really doesn't count, right? So you
Yeah.
got to pick one of the two major. I mean, if you pick something other than that, then you're kind of wasting your trip to the polls, because that candidate's not going to get elected. And so then at that point, you're squeezed into the final point of logic, which says which of these two evils is less harmful to you. Which one is, the Democrats position themselves as the benevolent whites who protect black people from the racist Republicans, right? That's why we see this interesting, very divisive politics online that really paints every candidate in the most extreme form possible. Either you're an angel or you're the devil. And I think that in order for black people um, to kind of rise out of this psychological trap that the Democrats consistently keep us in, kind of like they really are the pimp who gave you a place to live, but might beat you up sometimes or ignore you and only pay you 2% of the money that you earn when you're sitting out on the street all night in a miniskirt. When you in order for us to escape that, we have to play chess on this situation. We have to understand that A leads to B, which leads to C, which leads to D. So you have to consider the possibility of rejecting A, B, C, or D, or maybe all of it. Just say, I'm not going to play that game with you right now. I'm going to judge you based on on not the lowest common denominator. I'm not going to judge you or compare you to the worst racist I can imagine. I'm not going to look at you and compare you to Donald Trump. I'm going to compare you to what you need to be in order to represent my interests. I'm going to compare you to the person that I would feel comfortable getting up, getting off work, and going to vote for at the polls. And if you don't meet that mark, then I'm going to make a decision that's best for me and my family, and it may not be consistent with whatever you're telling me to do. Because there's a whole lot. I mean, think about it. I mean, they go in these back rooms, and they will sit for hours and try to figure out how do we manipulate black people? How do we convince them to do this and to do that? Well, we got to deal with this issue. Okay, so we're going to get a black person who's going to sign off on Hillary on this issue so that they will forgive her for this thing that happened 10 years ago. That I mean, this is strategized. I mean, when Obama was elected, I mean, they went into a room, a bunch of key people, and I'm not going to say, I can't tell you who it was because I don't even know if that's something I should even be talking about per se, but they had some key black people back when Obama first started running, and black people wouldn't vote for Obama because they didn't, people jump on bandwagons, and Obama wasn't beating Hillary, so everybody was in favor of Hillary. They said, how do we get black people to vote for Obama? So they said, okay, we need to get this person to say this, get that person to say that, get this person to go here and do this and do that, and because black people, oh, they like this, oh, they'll come to church and they'll all go for this. So there's a strategy in line, and it's really brilliant in the sense that they know you're thinking. They're going to manipulate you, and it's up to you to decide if you're going to be manipulated. I'm not falling for the bullshit. I'm not paying attention to it. I'm looking at Hillary and I'm looking at your family. I'm looking at all the people that you have put in prison over the last 20 years. I'm not forgetting that because many of them are still in prison, Hillary. They're still in prison. Michael Eric Dyson, I love you, brother, but I see you jumping from one hot bandwagon to the other politically. I mean, one minute it's Obama, and honestly, that whole comment about Obama being Pharaoh is so interesting because I mean, what I'm really seeing is I see a guy who says, okay, I'm going to criticize you until you bring me into your circle. Once you bring me into your circle, my criticism shuts down. I have nothing negative to say about you at that point. I don't, I'm, don't, you can't operate like that. You can't do that. I mean, come on. I mean, you cannot do that. Go ahead, Yvette. I'm going to stop talking
But
because
let me
cause
just
I,
say,
cause I don't, I
you
don't
know,
want to be mean to
you know
Michael. I don't want to
everything.
be mean to Michael, but you talk. I'm going to stop. Go ahead.
But you know the funniest thing, every negative thing that you just said about the Democratic Party, every negative thing that you just said was co-signed by Michael Eric Dyson in that piece he wrote for the New Republic. Everything you just said, because what he basically said, he said Obama didn't give black people anything, and Bill Clinton made it worse. Do you understand that what you've just said, Michael Eric Dyson, is that the two past Democratic presidents, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, didn't do anything for black people. In fact, you're really saying one of them harmed black people and one didn't do anything. Do you understand that that does not make a case for why any black person would ever want to vote for a Democrat? Because those two guys were both reelected. So that means 16 years you had two Democrats in office, who did something very detrimental, according to Michael Eric Dyson, and one who didn't do anything. Bill Clinton, he says, gave us bad policy. Obama, he says, gave us no policy. If I believe you, Michael Eric Dyson, I should never want to support a Democrat again. Because what you're telling me is that black people, we had 16 years, because both of these guys got reelected. We had 16 years of people who either did, of a Democratic president who either did something detrimental to us or didn't do anything for us. He makes the perfect case for why we shouldn't even support, why we should reconsider our support for Democrats, even though he didn't intend to make it. And he also makes a case. I haven't been overtly critical of Black Lives Matter, but it was worrisome, the piece that Michael Eric Dyson wrote, because he said a couple of times he brought in instances where Hillary Clinton, and we know of one of the instances where she basically told Black Lives Matter, you have to have something to push me in terms of policy, in terms of that, you know and then there was another instance where he said he recalled Hillary Clinton telling an activist, you need to continue to do this with this board, this that's supposed to oversee whatever it was, police brutality or something. So it's like, wait a minute. At the same time he says that the Black Lives Matter activists are going to hold Hillary Clinton accountable, he says that Hillary Clinton is basically teaching these Black Lives Matter activists how to be activists. And so it doesn't necessarily work that way. And what I'm saying is that whether he intended to do it or not, he calls into question the very thing that he says is going to make Hillary Clinton be better than Barack Obama. And he calls into question why any black person would support Democrats, considering that he says they haven't done the last two Democratic presidents haven't done anything for black people.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate because it does come off, as a black man saying you should support this party that has failed you repeatedly. And I think I can imagine the best argument that's being made is this is it's going to be different this time. It's not going to be the same as it was the other X number of times. This is different, and I'm not convinced of that. I think that Dyson unfortunately has got to the point where he's too tangled in all this political nonsense. He's too deeply, embedded and in bed with the liberal establishment, with the Democrats. I think that I can't imagine that there isn't some sort of financial benefit that comes with that. Although I'm not gonna say sit here and say that somebody's paying him off, but I do know that when you have certain black people who are propped up by these liberal publications like the New Republic to kind of make definitive statements to black people about some sort of liberal issue, it's usually because there was some sort of plan. Somebody said, okay, we need you to write this article about this person to make this point to convince people to do this thing, right? You saw Melissa Harris Perry when I forgot which liberal publication kind of propped her to do her attack on Cornel West. I mean, that was a political hit,
I
right?
think
You go
it was
back
the
to,
nation. Yeah.
yeah, you go, and then you saw Dyson do the same thing with Cornel West. And these are not black publications that they're writing in. These are all white liberal publications. So there's a political agenda being served here, and Michael Air Dyson is sort of part of their army at this point. And so I don't think it's a matter of saying Dyson has no value to the black community, but understand which master he's serving. I can't pinpoint exactly which one, but I can definitely say it's not the black community. It's not sort of this, very unapologetic commitment to black people, even if there's a financial cost, even if there's a political cost. That doesn't really seem to exist anymore with Dyson. It's really more so, this sort of interesting strategic move where it's sort of like, okay, right now I hate Obama, or I don't like Obama, so I'm going to call him Pharaoh. Then the next minute, somebody gives me a phone call, and after that, I'm speaking favorably of Obama. But then I'm not invited to the White House, so I'm on the radio bashing Obama, saying that he runs away from race the way a black man runs from a cop. But then the next minute, I'm saying all these wonderful things about Obama. There's nothing negative can really say about him. And in fact, I've seen little things every here and there about some book that Dyson is supposedly writing about Obama, and I can say that you don't get that kind of access to the president without playing ball. I know how the Obama administration operates. I remember when Russell Simmons and I did that mass incarceration campaign 2 years ago, and some of the games that they were playing with the celebrities who signed that petition. It was ugly. It was ugly. It was sort of like it wasn't even like we're mad at you for criticizing us, because we were very careful not to be critical. We were very polite. Even I kind of toned myself down, because I said the issue is more important than me, settling my little beef. And so it was very politely written, but just even the idea of even questioning the perfection of the administration in the eyes of black people is seen as a severe threat, particularly to people like Valerie Jarrett. And so, Russell caught a lot of hell for that, more so than me. Like, they kind of knew where I stood, but Russell was in that inner crowd, and I feel like he was kind of pushed out of that because he took this stand on mass incarceration.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like we were attacking Obama. We were just saying, just do what you promised you were going to do. There's a lot of people in prison who don't deserve to be there. Guys serving 20, 30 years on a weed charge. Can we revisit some of this? Because Black Lives mattered even back then, even before people were saying it. We were saying, look, Black lives do matter, but you're not acting this way. So, long story short, I hate to say that Dyson is reducing himself to being a political operative, but I think it's on him to prove otherwise. I need him. I would love for him to prove. He can even come here. I don't even want to interview him. I'd rather him maybe interview with you or something, and he can explain his position. But he looks like a political operative. I mean, what do you think?
It's clear to me that he's a political. I remember his debate with Glenn Ford from Black Agenda Report on Democracy Now, and it was clear to me that he couldn't really make a point that stuck. You know what I mean, in terms of why black people should support Obama. But he was here trying. You have to ask yourself, why are you trying to make a point that is obvious that you yourself are kind of struggling with? You know what I mean? So the one thing that bothers me, and this is something I wrote about this in 2011, I think, or 2012, in the run up to the Obama's reelection. In this New Republic article, Dyson talks about how Obama, didn't really give black people any policies that benefited them. I would actually make the case that some of Obama's policies were actually detrimental to black people, as opposed to just not benefiting them. Whether it's just HBCUs, whether we talk about, what in terms of schools and the race to the top, which is really the race to the bottom. When you talk about, I would make a lot of cases that Obama was actually detrimental. But even with that, he says that, oh well, Obama didn't help black people in terms of, like, he was constrained by his race because of the right wing and all that sort of thing, as if that was some sort of inevitable outcome of having a black president. I don't believe that at all. I believe that one of the reasons that black people didn't get some of the stuff we wanted is because people like Dyson and people like Sharpton were protecting him. It wasn't just some natural outcome of the political climate at the time. It was because every time I remember Maxine Waters saying something to the effect of, Obama isn't doing enough for black people or something. I can't remember her exact quote, but I remember how people came at her. I remember how people came at me. I remember these people who kind of surrounded Obama, these high profile people, these high profile black people that surrounded him and insulated him from criticism. So when you look at why Obama didn't give anything to black people in terms of legislation, you have to place some of the blame on the black people who surrounded him and protected him for the most part from criticism. Yeah, every now and again they would criticize and throw a line in here or throw a line in there, but we know what that's about. That's so that you can give yourself cover later and be like, yes, 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 I did criticize him. Remember that one time when I was hosting on MSNBC and I said that he said this, I said that thing, like I said like 4 times. You know what I mean? So that's just a way to give yourself cover. We know that. So that's what bothers me when people talk about when he's looking. It's almost as if Dyson is looking at this thing as an outsider. Well, Obama didn't give us what we want on race, and I was sort of disappointed. You weren't an outsider. You were one of the people kind of rallying around him. That we should, he's kind of doing what he can and he's making some progress or whatever. Now you're kind of backing away and saying, well, that he didn't do it and Hillary will. It just doesn't make any sense for me, and that's I think that's why it bothered me.
Well, I guess we have to stop talking at some point, and I feel so bad having to, say these things about a person I respect so much. I mean, Michael. I don't know if I ever told you, Michael Larry Dyson is the reason I became a public scholar. He was the first public
Yeah.
scholar I ever saw in my life, and then a little bit later, I still remember the day somebody said, "Have you ever heard of Dr. Julianne Malveaux?" I was like, "No, who's that?" And then I remember the first time I saw Cornell West. And it just kind of it's disheartening to have to even really challenge him in that way in terms of kind of saying to him, man, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't adding up. And I would love to, to hear him explain some of this. And I would like for him to really explain it to black people. When you're going to these white liberal publications who clearly want their Democratic candidate to be elected, who've clearly shown a track record of using black people as political pawns to pursue their agenda. Instead of doing that, why not come to the black community more directly? Why not show that you're authentically committed to supporting blackness, even if the white liberals who are paying you are not in approval of what you're doing, and that's just not what I see. That's that. I'd love to hear what Dyson has to say. He stopped just so you know, Vid, he stopped texting me about a year or two ago because I think I think it got a little. At first, he used to engage me and stuff and kind of get mad at me and he about stuff that you and I said, but now he's just like, okay, these two are lost cause, which I think actually could be a good thing. But I wish him the best. I just hope that people who are critical thinkers will kind of look beyond this stuff. We know millions of people are going to fall for this, which is why they do it anyway. And I'm sitting and reading the article, and just to quote one paragraph in the article, Dyson says, on the campaign trail, Hillary Clinton has exhibited a greater sophistication about race, increased sensitivity about how blackness is lived in our country, and a deeper awareness of how the small brutalities of racism rend the fabric of the social compact after first spoiling the flesh of those at the bottom of society. He's such a good writer. I mean, he knows how to use those words. God bless him. If there were disturbing racial echoes in Hillary's first attempt to gain the White House, what's the guarantee we won't get blinkered in a fog of racial sensitivity now? Has Hillary Clinton changed? Have we? And then it looks like he goes further to talk about a time where he joined Hillary Clinton in Midtown Manhattan for some sort of forum or something. And you don't end up at these places by accident. You get invited. You're sort of asked to participate, asked to provide support. So this is all a political operation, and I just think it's important for people to just see it for what it is. I mean, if you want to go for it, if that's your thing, then that's fine. But those of us who truly care only about the black community and that's it, I encourage you to think critically about all of this. So I'm done talking. Thank you, Yvette.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. This is Miss Yvette Carnell at breakingbrown.com. Now, that's just a hell of a website. You've had what? How many millions of people come to your site now? Have you
Oh, I
counted
don't even
lately?
know. I think our biggest traffic month was a million, but we get hundreds of thousands every month. So So we're growing, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody out there who checks in with Breaking Brown and see what we're doing. I appreciate people who support Black media. That means a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and what I really love is that, now it's almost like now we're not the crazy ones anymore because somehow Black America kind of woke up. Like I think it started with Trayvon about 2012, and then 2013, and now it's really cool to be black. It wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be black when you and I started talking about. I mean, we were. I don't know about you, but I lost friends. I couldn't get.
Well, no, it's always been cool to be culturally like it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be a politically aware and independent Black person. You know what
There
I
you
mean? It's
go.
just like no, you have to support the Democratic Party. What's wrong with you? Oh, you criticizing Obama? Oh, you a hater? Who are you? I got my ass handed to me. Like what I mean, so many times for criticizing Obama. It was awful.
Yeah, I tell you, I love it. I mean, people used to look at me like I was crazy, back in '07, '08, when I would come and talk this black stuff, and I would say, why is nobody paying attention to what's happening to black men? All these black men being sent to prison, getting shot down the street. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I can't say that anymore because people are showing that they actually care.
Yeah.
And it's a dream come true for me. It's very exciting. In fact, I even remember in 2013, when we did our new paradigm forum, Cornell West, just being frustrated about the fact that everybody was sleepwalking, and here it is 2 years later, and people are not sleepwalking anymore. They're standing up, they're speaking up. And I think that this I don't think this is a fad. I think this is gonna continue. This is the beginning of an awakening that I think will change the world. So I'm excited. This is a great time to be black. At least that's my opinion. What do you think?
I just think it's a great time to be. I just think it's a great time to be a politically aware person. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I think it's a good time to have. I mean, I'm very happy that there's been a resurgence in people who are at least willing to question. You don't have to agree with me. I'm fine with you not agreeing with me. That's never been my problem. My problem has always been with people who aren't willing to question, what they're being told. So I'm just happy to see an increase in the number of people who are willing to question what the official line that they're being given by politicians, their government, and people who support the politicians and government. That's what I'm happy to see.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, all right. Well, I'm gonna let Yvette get back to her day. We got a bunch of stuff to work on. In fact, down in Kentucky, a group of activists have actually occupied the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor that was attacking Judge Olu Stevens for standing up against the use of all-white juries. So they're actually down there. They've occupied and taken over
Wow.
the Commonwealth Attorney's office, which is kind of like the district attorney of this area. And I'm really excited about that. I'm actually going to go down there and check out what they're doing and support them. And they're holding a rally tonight at the corner of 6th and Jefferson. If you happen to be in the city of Louisville, they're holding a rally at 6 p.m. at 6th and Jefferson. Go check it out. Go support. Right now, they're this close to setting a precedent that I think could be seen all around the world. So it's a really important time. All right. Well, thanks a lot once again, Yvette. It was great talking to you.
You
And
too.
and everybody, once again, this is Miss Yvette Carnell at BreakingBrown.com. Me, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Until we meet again, stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.